Hi, it's time for a chime video. Today we're going to talk about chime covers, and we're going to actually talk about these two covers. These are two of the very earliest NuTone chime covers that they ever made. These were both available as early as 1936, 1937. They are one of the original style NuTone covers that they made. Both of these are made out of a material called Catalan, and Catalan is closely associated with bakelite. Bakelite was invented around 1907, and it was a really early plastic, and it was used in all sorts of consumer type products. It was also very popular to use for electrical insulators because it's non-conductive. Around 1927, 20 years later, then Catalan was developed. And Catalan is what's called a phenolic resin. It's a two-part process when they make it. The fundamental difference between Catalan and bakelite is what's added into the resins when it's made. Bakelite always has either some wood pulp, sawdust, or maybe carbon black added into it, which makes it denser and makes it opaque. Catalan doesn't have any of that. It's just the phenolic resins that make up the Catalan material. And because of that, it has more of a translucent quality to it. And in fact, if we take the flashlight here, you can shine it through and you can see the light glow through the plastic. And this was ideal in a lot of early NuTone chimes that had accent lights on the chime bases, because when you turned it on at night, the light would light up and it would cause the cover to glow and look cool, and also the light would wash out of the bottom of the cover down across the brass tubes, and it made a nice show in your home. Catalan was really popular in the 1930s through the 1950s, and it was used in a lot of consumer products because it didn't have the sawdust or carbon black in it, and it had the translucent quality. Brighter, more vibrant colors could be added into it, and it was very, very popular in a lot of tabletop radios that now you could get in turquoise blue or red or bright yellow and colors like that, which you couldn't really do in bakelite. These two covers, this one is often referred to as either the garnet red or the tortoiseshell finish, and this one everybody calls the butterscotch finish. But what's interesting about it is Catalan itself is not a very color stable product. So it's unclear, at least to me, what colors these actually would have looked like when they were brand new in the late 1930s. There's some thought that the butterscotch one, when it was brand new, was originally white. And a long time ago, several years ago, I actually had someone send me a photograph of one of these in his great-grandmother's house. It was built into a niche on the wall next to the stairs, and it actually shows this cover, and it actually shows it in white. So it's very possible that this was white when it was brand new, and over time it's turned to this butterscotch color. Don't really know exactly. In the NuTone literature of the day, which is not very much, mostly it's descriptions in catalog pages, in like wholesale catalog pages or things like that. They didn't have sales brochures in those days as far as I can tell. It doesn't really specifically say what colors they were available in. But these are two very rare and very sought after covers. One of the things that makes them rare and sought after is they're rather heavy, and they're also rather brittle. They're large, and if you turn it around on the back, you can see it's mostly just a shell, and you can actually see, you can see through it. And these are the ears that fit into notches on the chime base, and it hangs on those, which is a good way to do it. And you can see it sort of has a marbled effect. It has these different colored veins in it, which gives it its appearance. But if you were to accidentally drop this, if you were taking this off your chime and your chime is 5 or 6 feet up on the wall and you dropped it on a hard surface or maybe even on carpeting, it would most likely break because it's a fairly brittle material. It's not very flexible at all. And that may be why you don't see a lot of these. Also, it's probably because back in those days, I don't think they made tens of thousands of these. They may have made a few thousand of them. It's really hard to say because there aren't any records to let us know. I'm particularly partial to these. I like the engraved panel in the center on the front. These, since they're from the late 1930s, they have sort of an Art Deco style to them, and that is sort of carried through on the plaque here on the front, and then down here it's engraved and it says NuTone. The engraving, I don't know whether it was highlighted with something or whether it's just a byproduct of when it was routed out. I'm sure this was done by some kind of engraving machine on both of them, but here you can see the NuTone's highlighted. It's really easy to read. I think it's because the engraving roughs up the surface and makes it not look shiny like this. The other thing that's interesting about Catalan is when you feel it, when you rub your fingers on it, it has sort of that greasy feel. It's not greasy, there's nothing on the surface, but it has that sort of greasy feel that comes off of it because of the kind of material that it's made out of. The other thing that's interesting about these is if these are on a chime with a light, an accent light, which they usually are, and the light is on for several hours, they sort of emit this distinctive sort of odor that comes off of them. It's not real strong or anything like that, but it definitely has that old-timey kind of smell that you get on really old products like this. So that's just a brief look at two vintage original NuTone door chime covers. These were used on the very earliest chimes that NuTone made in 1936, and as far as I can tell, they were used on all of the Series 2 chimes, or they were available on the Series 2 chimes. There were other covers and other designs that were made over time, but by the time you get to the early 1940s, these covers tended to disappear in favor probably of covers that were simpler to manufacture and probably somewhat less expensive. I hope you found this interesting, and perhaps for some of you it might be helpful. If it is, give it a thumbs up on YouTube because that helps us a little bit. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell, and when you click on the bell, click on it to receive all notifications, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.